Hi boys and girls. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do a project and we are going to be imitating the technique of artist Chuck Close. We looked at a video a little bit about Chuck Close and kind of his technique and what he does. He does things called a gridded portrait, which means he does them in kind of a different way. He just doesn't paint or draw a portrait. He uses almost kind of like a scientific method or a mathematical method to develop his portraits. And he works in individual little spaces to create his portrait. So that's what we're going to do today. So let me share with you how we're going to do it.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is not actually the art part, it's the preparation for our portraits and what we're going to do. So what we need to do is both on our white sheet of paper and on your black and white photograph, you are going to create a grid. You're going to need to draw a grid on both of these because you're going to transfer what is in each box of the grid into the boxes onto your paper. So the first thing that we're going to do, I'm going to get everything out of the way here. I'm going to need to start with a ruler and with a pen and my photograph, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I need to find the inches side of my ruler, and I'm sorry if this feels kind of like I'm in a math class right now, but this is what we're doing. We need to measure it and we need to make sure that it's done correctly. I only have one photograph for each of you, so it is very extremely important because we're using a pen that you do this correctly. We don't want to have to draw lines over and over again because we can't erase them on our photograph. So you just want to try to do it the best you can the very first time. So I'm going to be very detailed in my explanation, and I'm sorry for that, but this is what we're going to do. You're going to find the inches side of your ruler. Remember, the inches are wider, the centimeters are smaller, and one should say centimeters. If you can see that here, you want to be on the inches side, this one right here, okay? And also, we don't want to line it up with the edge of our ruler. We want to match the 0 with the edge of our photograph here. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to, at the very top, I'm going to line it up and make sure your photograph is going up and down like this. I'm going to line it up on the 0 close to the top, and I'm going to make a mark along every inch here. It should be 4 inches across. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mark right here on the 1, and remember, it's lined up first on the 0 against the edge of my photograph before I start. Don't line it up with the edge of your ruler, okay? So right here, I'm gonna make a mark on the 1, and I'm gonna press down hard enough that we can see it. I'm gonna make a mark on the 2, okay? And then a mark on the 3. We're gonna draw right over the top of our photograph, okay? And you don't need to make a mark on the 4 because that's the edge there. Then I'm gonna flip it over and I'm gonna do the exact same thing at the bottom. So I'm gonna line it up with the 0. I'm gonna scoot it down just a little. And then I'm gonna make a mark, and it's hard to see here because it's black, so I'm gonna get a little close. I'm gonna make a mark on the 1, a mark on the 2, and then a mark on the 3. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up each of those marks, and I'm going to draw a mark all the way down. So I'm going to have 3 lines going straight down my photograph. Okay, so line that up, 1 line, next line here, line that up. Make sure it's lined up with both of those marks. I'm gonna push down on the ruler. I'm not gonna hold it with 1 finger. I'm gonna use as many fingers as I can, and I'm gonna use pressure to push down on the ruler as I'm marking with my pen here, okay? And then my last line, I'm gonna line that up, find that line at the bottom. If it's really dark, if you look at an angle, you can kind of see that shimmery line, okay? And I'm gonna mark all the way down. Okay, so I have 3 lines going down my photograph. Now I need lines going this direction horizontally. So I'm gonna do it the same way. I'm gonna line up my 0 with the edge of my photograph on the side, and I'm gonna put a mark on every inch, okay? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then I'm going to do it again on the opposite side. I'm going to flip my photograph over. I'm going to line it up with a 0. Make sure it's nice and even here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and then again, I'm going to turn my my photograph straight up and down, and I'm going to match up those lines, and I'm going to draw those lines across the top to create my grid. Okay, so 1, match them up, line them up. 2, where's that other one? There it is. 3, 4. Whoop, see what just happened there? My ruler moved. So I'm gonna redraw that line, and I didn't hold this down. So I'm actually glad that happened because I made a mistake, and mistakes can happen, but we need to go over the top of it. Now I've got this line here that I don't really want. I can't erase it, so I'm just gonna have to leave it. So it would be better if I did it right the first time and was paying attention. So make sure you put your hand firmly on your ruler once you've lined up your 2 lines before you draw it across like that. Okay, so now I have done my photograph. My photograph is ready. It's got my grid, even though I made a mistake, but I'm going to use this to create my grid on my paper. So now we need to do the paper part of it. Okay, so for our papers, it is going to be exactly double of what we did before. So on our photo, we did every inch. Now at the top of this, we're gonna do every 2 inches, okay? So we're gonna do it the same way, but we don't need a pen. In case we make a mistake, we can erase it now with a pencil, which is a little bit easier. So at the top, okay, I'm gonna line up my ruler with my paper. I'm gonna not line it up on the edge, I'm gonna line it up on the 0 up at the top, close to the top of my paper. And I'm gonna make a mark on every 2 inches. So 1, 2, okay, make a mark on the 4 and on the 6. And I will have this up on the board in case you forget, but 2, 4, and 6 on, like your paper is going up and down like this, 2, 4, and 6. I'm gonna do the same thing on the bottom, so I'm gonna flip it upside down, line it up with a 0, okay, and then again 2, 4, and 6. So 2, 4, and 6. All right, and then I'm going to line up my ruler with both of those edges, line it up here, line it up here, and then I'm going to put my fingers firmly on my ruler, and I'm gonna draw that line across, okay, on 2, 4, and 6. So I'm gonna do it again, line it up, make sure both sides, I know you can't see that, but you need to make sure both sides are lined up here, and then your side is lined up here, right underneath that mark, and then you're gonna draw that line across, okay, firmly across your paper. And then last one down here, line it up, and then firmly on my ruler, and then draw it across, okay? And then I'm gonna do the same thing on this side, along this side, this edge. I'm going to make a mark on every 2 inches. It's the same on both in case you forget. So I'm gonna line up my ruler on the 0, and I'm gonna make a mark on every 2 inches. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, okay? I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, flip it over, line it up with the 0, and again, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Then I'm gonna match up my ruler to both of the marks, okay? And I'm gonna draw that line across. Make sure you press firmly on your ruler, don't forget. Draw your line across. And then I'm just gonna keep doing that all the way down until I've got my grid completed, okay? Line it up. Nice even squares here because I measured it all out. Got a really good grid. This part is boring, not exciting at all. I am not a big fan of math, but sometimes we need a little math, and this is a good example of how even artists use math. But it's important that we develop a good grid before we start this so that our picture is gonna look amazing, okay? So I'm almost done with this here. I'm gonna draw this line across, and then I have completed my grid for my drawing. On the back, I'm going to write my name, and you'll write your class code, whatever that is. And then you've got your photograph and your paper ready for your drawing. And just to kind of give you an idea of what we're going to do later, is we're gonna focus in on just one grid at a time, and we're gonna copy what is in this grid or this box into this first box here. And we're going to do that one by one until we've developed our photograph, and it helps us kind of to see it in a different way. Normally when we would draw like the outline. I would draw my hair and then the shape of my eyes. Well, it's a little bit different now because now we're just looking at value and light, medium, and dark spaces. And when you focus in on one little part at a time, it kind of changes the way that you look at it. So just kind of a different technique about going about a self-portrait. So that's what we're going to do next time. Today, when you are finished, you can do one of the activities on the gray door, but we do need to do this first before we can start our portrait. Great job, guys.